Today, I've got a really amazing free zone transformation story. It's a story about someone who is an immigrant to Canada and then to the United States. And when you listen and watch our story, our interview with Hao, you'll see that they had such extraordinary things that they had to do just to escape from a really bad place in terms of where they wanted their life to go and where their parents wanted to go. That when there's the kind of hardship that North Americans are going through right now, or Europeans are going through, this is not real hardship, and they've learned how to, they've learned how to transform difficulty, and they've learned how to transform obstacles because I mean they arrive with nothing essentially. They have no reputation, they have no credentials, they have no money, they have no friends, they have no reputation, and it's all got to be created. So I've often thought that entrepreneurs are kind of immigrants, that the closest people to entrepreneurs are people who are immigration, because you have to leave everything behind and start new. And that's the beautiful thing about Kim's star, and that's the beautiful thing about Howe's story here. And the other thing is that it makes you appreciate what means the most to you, so much so that you can actually create your life out of it. And with Howe, it was really education, because he didn't really go to school. I mean, he didn't really go to school. One is that it was so disruptive with the Vietnam War, especially the takeover of the South, and the other thing is the schools were, you know, negative. They were schools. They were teaching propaganda. And I find it just really interesting that his being deprived of not really deprived. And I was listening to his story about, he got teachers one day a week. And I said, I would have done anything when I was a kid to just have teachers one day a week. I said that I'd go for that. Anyway, but that his main business is really education, and that the marvelous thing is watching the story of him switching completely his business model from in person, and probably pretty limited. Probably if he had just gone away along the way he was going before March of 2020, he would have had nice growth and everything else, but not spectacular growth. And his growth would have been mostly the US. It would have been franchises in the US. But now his growth is planetary. And we share that experience because Strategic Coach has just boomed, you know, since um, since we mastered Zoom. It took us about 3 months to master Zoom, and then we created this new global program, and we're, first year, September to December, 500 signups worldwide and from everywhere. And so I really I relate to every part of Howe's story. I mean, I've experienced it myself, after all. I was born in the United States. I'm an immigrant to Canada, but I've been an entrepreneur. In 2 years, it'll be 50 years since I became an entrepreneur, and I just so appreciate Howe's story for everybody else to listen to. Anytime you think you're having a rough time as an entrepreneur, just get Howe's story out and watch the video again, and you'll feel that what you're going through isn't such a big deal. And the other thing, just to realize that how different his beginning was from yours, but here's a kindred spirit. Entrepreneurs are really kindred spirit. Entrepreneurs in one part of the world understand entrepreneurs in another part of the world. Different culture, you understand them. Different language, you understand them. Different profession, you understand them. And so it's just just a treat for us to capture this, and he was so willing to share his story with us that, and we're so excited that we're able to share his story with you.
So first of all, my name is Hao Lam. Thank you so much, Sophie and Strategico, giving me an opportunity to share my story. I live in Seattle, Washington. I have two companies. I have a franchise company called Best in Class Education Center. We tutor math and English K to 12th grade. Pandemic hit, we had to close in the middle of it because of the thing that I learned because of the pivot. I started another company several months ago. It's called Adaptively Education. It's in a similar field as education, but it's an ed tech company, education technology company. It's a newborn baby. We're super excited about the growth. I was born and raised in Vietnam. At the age of 7, North Vietnam took over the South. That is April 30th, 1975. That's the fall of Saigon. I remember vividly. That was the day my father disappeared. So he was in the military, fought alongside with the US Army. So we thought he was dead, but he did not. He was captured. He was one of the POW, thankfully. He showed up a year later, and first thing he told me, Sophie, is that, how you need to leave the country. This is not the place for you to show up. Imagine looking at an 8-year-old and tell him to leave the country. I did not know what that means. So long story short, for the next 12 years, I did not do anything but try to escape from Vietnam. Now, I hated school because it was communist propaganda. So I did not go to school. So I basically quit school at the age of 8 or 9 years old. My mother was a school teacher. So she had a math teacher and an English teacher, a math teacher and a Chinese teacher. I'm Chinese, born in Vietnam. So she had a Chinese teacher and a math teacher to come to our house once a week. That was my formal education. So it took me 12 years with everything that going on, right? Short at jail, near-death experience. At the age of 20, I finally made it in the Philippine refugee camp, where I learned my very first written language, that English. I learned the alphabet. I learned all this stuff. So it's pretty funny that now I own a tutoring empire. We have 65 locations in 12 states. I'm in education, but I was basically illiterate. I learned my first written language at the age of 20. So it's never too late to transform. So that was my backstory. The reason why I was in education is that because I was uneducated. I was so passionate. I graduated high school at the age of 23. And I finished college at the UBC at the age of 27. And I feel that education is my calling. So in 1995, I moved down from Vancouver to Seattle and opening my first tutoring school, Savi, and I did not know what I got myself into. I was just very passionate about doing something like every entrepreneur, right? You have a grandmother's secret chicken wing recipe and you open a chicken wing store, right? And then I was so passionate. And then, of course, it took 27 years for me to actually build my company. So that was a short version of my story. I grew up in the worst neighborhood in Vietnam. My grandmother, my mom was a school teacher. My dad was in the military. So he was always not home. So my grandmother raised me. And then we have a grocery store in front of our house. When we think about grocery store, you think about Cougar, Safeway. No. We're just a little tiny area, and then we sell rice by the cup. We sell soy sauce by the spoon. So, but I learned it from my grandma because I was helping her when I was little. And then when I start the tutoring company, I thought it was just me loving to teach. I think a lot of entrepreneurs just like me without knowing what I got myself into. And of course, looking back, it was super scary, right? If I can turn back the clock, I never regret, but like, I wouldn't do it, right? I don't even know what is a P&L statement. And I did not get paid for the first 2 years. Luckily, I have a lovely wife whom I met on the Love Boat. She supported me, right? My book also is a love story. So I met her on a love boat. We fell in love in the refugee camp and all this stuff. But like she supported me. I was chasing my passion, but I was so passionate about teaching. And I didn't know anything outside of teaching. And because I was so passionate about what I do, people actually believe in me. I couldn't even speak English back then, right? But you don't need a lot of English to teach math, right? But I can understand, and then I improve, right? I study English, I read a lot of books, I watch a lot of TV, I spoke a lot. So that's how I started. But slowly, my one-person team become, oh, maybe someone need help in English. So I did a survey because I couldn't afford another teacher. I was teaching by myself. When the money came in, I pay rent and pay all the expense, and that's it. But I didn't know that I wasn't getting paid because I was so passionate. And then slowly I hired a teacher, and slowly it became a business. And then I learned slowly how to put a great team together, how to build a system. And of course, we all know that in order to have a franchise business, you have to have a very solid SOP, right? Standard of operating system with the system in place and all this stuff. So one step at a time, right? My overnight success only take 27 years. I just start a new company. I just launched an edtech company, and I'm learning, right? Before I launched this company, I thought that 26 years in education, I know it all. I was wrong. I was wrong, because edtech is not the same as brick and mortar. It is just a completely different animal. And I'm willing to learn again. The beauty about an entrepreneurship is that you don't have, every day is a new day. Every day you're learning, is challenging, it is building one foot in front of another. In the middle of the pandemic, like at the end of March and beginning of April, all our location has to be closed due to social distancing. So we were trying to put a learning management system together, the LMS, to help the franchisee work with the parent, with the student, without a physical brick and mortar location. And then the light bulb went on. Can we do this without a brick and mortar location? With the technology, the answer is yes. Can we do that without selling franchise? The answer is yes, because I can have a student in Hawaii and my teacher in Montana or even Washington. So we basically do not need, we still heavily support our franchisee. We have 60 plus locations in 12 states. Some of them already open a day or two. They are still on the new platform, right? They are working on a new platform. But we are not selling franchise anymore, because with the new technology, with the edtech company, we are able to knock the borders, knock the territory down, knock down the state, right? Even knock out the country. If someone in Singapore want to learn, they have no problem. We have no problem delivering a similar service. The teacher is US based, with the math and English. So that is my edtech company. It is coming out of COVID. Without COVID, my edtech company wouldn't be born. Because I was a refugee, because I was hungry, because I want to make a lot of money back then, because I was chasing the wrong thing, I was all over the place. In the past, I have opened a mortgage company. I had a real estate company, and then I opened a restaurant also. So I am an expert in closing restaurants. I invest and open 4, and they all fail miserably, right? We're talking about 180, 200 seat to a 500 seat buffet restaurant. We fail, right? I fail all 4. We have 2 in Washington, 1 in Las Vegas, and 1 in Vancouver. Mortgage company also, right? At peak, we have 65, 70 loan officer, went down after 2008. Because I was chasing the wrong thing, because I wear too many hats, because they are only 24 hours a day, and I do not have a system in place that allow me to divide my time evenly and focus on the thing that it matters. So I learned a really big lesson, right? I fail more than I succeed. Today, I'm here to share my story, not how successful I am, but the lesson that I learned from all the failure that I encounter in my life. How do I overcome that? Because of the background. I escaped from Vietnam, and it took me 12 years to make it to the Philippine refugee camp. And like every single time is a different incident, right? You couldn't make it, couldn't get to the small bowl, couldn't get to the big bowl, and it was chased, it was shot at it. I was captured one time, I was in jail, and I was released, and I tried it again. So failing to me is just a lesson. It is an experience so that I can do better next time. For example, I was in real estate before. We buy and sell commercial real estate, manage retail mall, office building, and all that, and we had to fold the company. But with the knowledge that I learned, I'm able to help my franchisee with all the lease negotiation and all that stuff, right? Always look at the bright side. And at the end of the day, I'm so grateful to be where I am today, living in the best country in the world, having a business, having wonderful family, wonderful team member. But when I hit a wall, my wife and I look at each other in the eye and ask ourselves this question: are we going to die? If not, what's the problem? Right? I was almost killed multiple times in my life. I'm so grateful every morning. I don't get out of bed, but I pop out of bed because I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like it's my duty to give back, to pay forward. So I don't feel like I'm having so much fun with the thing that I do. I'm grooming many level 5 leaders so that they can help. I empower them. I used to be a micromanager, but I'm no longer am, I hope. So empower them, groom them to be able to do their job, right? Like Dan said, who not how. When we were smaller, we try to do everything. Oh, I can do marketing. Oh, I can do writing. I can do that. Now find the right person who do the content writing for you. Find the right marketing person, right? Find the right COO to do the stuff for you, right? It's all the lesson learned. And every crisis comes an opportunity, right? Every challenge, comes an opportunity. So every time there's a challenge and we look at it and say, what is the AAR, right? What is the after action review? If we made a mistake, hopefully we don't make the same mistake the next time. Just learn, march forward, have a positive attitude, and know that as long as I am still alive, tomorrow is going to be a new game. We had to make difficult decisions during the pandemic because we lost 2/3 of our revenue overnight because all locations had to be closed. It was difficult, but it wasn't the most difficult period of my life. It is better than being in jail. It is better than running and being shot at, bullets just flying around you, right? That was like life and death. I know that if I protect myself, my family, my team, we stay home, we work safely, it shall be over someday and we're going to go back to in person and the business is going to proper. Like we are trying to survive by building the LMS. Now we are going to thrive by creating a new company. We call it adaptively education because we had no choice but to adapt to the new norm, the new technology. And then we call it adaptively education. So like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I'm going to tell the story to my student. How do you come up with the name? It came up because we need to adapt during the pandemic. So that's why adaptively education was born, right? You make lemonade out of lemon. Think it through, manage the situation, and do whatever you can, right? Like the pandemic, you can't control it, right? How do you protect yourself? But there are certain things you can do. Can we create something that we can serve our customer or even better without an in-person? Can we digitize our curriculum? Yes. Can we even gamify it? Right now, my student not only can work on the computer via the platform, they can even play education game on it. In person, you're not able to do that, right? And then later on with the machine learning, and we're able to analyze the stuff and help students predict future success and all this stuff. So the possibility is endless. The sky is the limit. There's so much we can do with the technology and all. Honestly, we don't even know when we're going to reopen, right? We were so hot for that. We're going to be reopened in May, June, and all that. And then now we have the Delta variant, right? Always have a plan B and a plan C, right? So in order to know where we are, typically company do a income statement. We call it P&L on a monthly basis, right? Publicly traded company do it on a quarterly basis. We, on the other hand, are so small. We have to do it on a weekly basis. We need to know how much oxygen we have in the tank. How much runway do we have before we couldn't even breathe? So we are so small. We are like a speedboat in the ocean. You can turn, you can maneuver, you can fly. A Titanic cannot make the changes because it's too big. Yeah, it's really too slow. So we're small, we're agile, we're adaptable, and we react really quickly. Look at strategic code. When I signed up about a year ago, it was in the middle of the pandemic. I'm in EO2 of my 4 May joint strategic code. I heard about it, and I still remember my buddy, his name is Dan Roger, right? He's in the 10X, he's in the program. He said, "How I want you to, I recommend you to do this." And I was a little hesitant. And then you know what he said? He said, "Okay, I want you to join. 1 year later, if you don't get the value, I'll write you a check. I'll personally write you a check in the amount that you pay strategic code," right? Like, I hope that all our customers are like Dan. Dan is a raving fan of strategic code, and same am I, right? So anybody want to have a coaching and all that, I highly recommend strategic coach too, because I benefit so greatly from the program. Even after 25, 26 years in business, I have multiple mentors. I was in different coaching program and all that, and I am enjoying it. That's why I renew, and I learn a lot, right? 1 tool at a time. There are so many tools in Dan's toolbox that I'm able to pull out and use on a regular basis. One thing that resonates with me the most is taking time off, right? Strategic called it a free day. 25 years in business, I am on 24/7. I don't have a day off. It is around the clock. When I'm with my family, I'm using my cell phone. It was so shameful. But when you were in it, you don't feel it, right? Learning how to allocate a free day is so critical for me, right? When I first joined, like, what is a free day? What is that supposed to mean? Oh, it's 1 day that you don't do any work, but like spend quality time with your friends and family, or even for yourself. So slowly, I start with 1 free day and then 2 free days, right? Saturday and Sunday. And I'm proud to admit that starting July of this year, I have 3 free days. My team know that I don't work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Although they all know that I cheat a little bit, but it's better than, but like I have no work schedule on it, right? So it is not, I think the ROI is tenfold, right? It is a little bit too here and there, right? Like as an entrepreneur, we have so many ideas every single day, right? Like just bouncing it to the team and overwhelming the team. And one of the tools that I learned from Dan is so impactful is that it's called the impact filter, right? Like you probably know that it is just a decision-making tool. So before I ask my team to do something, I actually answer some of the questions. It is worth moving forward. It is important. It is urgent. What is the ROI, right? Once I write everything down, and half of the time I couldn't even convince myself, yeah, bad idea. Let's park it. And then if I pass myself, then I'll forward it to my team. Hey, what do you think of this? And then they made a few more key points, whether they support it now or we're going to park it. It's a good idea, but we don't have the bandwidth. At least we have a healthy conversation. These are some of the examples that I use that I benefit from strategic code. I mean, this is just the top 2 that I use very, very frequently. It's such a great honor to be here and to talk to Dan and strategic coach and some of my friend and client and all that. Most importantly, I know the pandemic is super difficult. It changes on a daily basis, whether you are in Seattle or in Florida or Texas, but just don't give up, right? Just be flexible, be agile, and willing to make the changes. And then just stay safe, right? Whatever it is, to protect yourself, to protect your family. And I like to close by saying that what is the problem, right? If you're not dead, if you are alive, anything is possible, right? Are we gonna die? If you can protect yourself, if we're alive, if we're healthy, you need to be alive and healthy though, right? If you're alive and in bed, there's nothing you can do. If you're alive, if you're healthy, you can rebuild your company, you can build a new company, you can help your community, your family, your loved one, and all that. So thank you so much for the opportunity.